King's command, car ton bras sait porter l'épée, il sait porter la croix. Ton histoire est une épopée des plus brillants exploits. God, keep our land glorious and free. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Whatsoever things are true. A promise made here at the University of Alberta over 100 years ago. Today, we are gathered to celebrate this commitment to ourselves and to our community. We celebrate with all those who leave here today with their degrees. May you continue to seek truth. May you continue to serve in our global home. May you continue to grow in wisdom and understanding. And may you continue to uphold the university's values of integrity, freedom, and the equality and dignity of all persons, to create a community filled with promise for the future and goodwill toward all. Please be seated. Welcome to the University of Alberta. My name is Doug Stollery, and I have the privilege of serving as Chancellor of the University and conferring all of your degrees today. The University of Alberta acknowledges that we are located on Treaty 6 territory and respects the histories, languages, and cultures of First Nations, Métis, Inuit, and all First Peoples of Canada, whose presence continues to enrich our vibrant community. On behalf of our entire university community, I'm delighted to welcome you to this convocation. We're very pleased that so many friends and family members could join us as we celebrate the accomplishments of our graduates. This is a ceremony full of traditions. What do they mean? Convocation is a Latin term meaning a gathering together of all qualified degree holders in a university community. This tradition dates back almost 700 years. Graduates, as you participate in today's ceremony, you are walking in the footsteps of many generations of scholars. Today's formal opening procession to the stage, led by our Chief Marshal and the University Mace, originates in the procession of the Guild of Teachers. Such guilds in past centuries were dedicated to the pursuit of knowledge, with individuals moving from apprentice to master to teacher, assuming increasing responsibilities for learning and leadership in society. The many different academic gowns, hoods, and caps here on stage today reflect centuries of university tradition. They declare in their various designs and colors the alma mater and qualifications of the academic and community leaders who are on stage to celebrate with you. As Chancellor, I wear our University of Alberta colors of green and gold. Your own academic gowns and hoods date back to the Middle Ages. The different colors of your hoods signify to everyone here and to our society the degree that you have earned. Your caps, or Oxford-style mortarboards, are considered by some historians to be a symbol of the scholar's independence and freedom. Today, we celebrate your freedom along with your new leadership role in our community, and we have invited a number of community leaders to share in the celebration. We will hear from a member of our Board of Governors and from our university president. We will also hear from Mr. Bob McDonald, who has accepted our invitation to receive an honorary doctorate of science, our university's highest honor. An honorary degree recognizes inspiring role models and leaders, celebrating extraordinary achievements or remarkable service to society. Following the presentation of the honorary degree, we will begin the recognition of your degrees. One of our deans will present you on behalf of the faculties, and our president will guide you through your pledge to pursue the encouragement of learning and the public good. It will then be my great honor to admit you to your degrees and confer upon you all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities that come with being a university graduate. Then it will be your turn up here with us. Each of you will cross the stage as your name is called. For everyone here, that will be the most important part of our ceremony. Your degree will be conferred as I congratulate you and we greet each other on stage. That moment will bind you and the University of Alberta together for all time. Your families and friends are witness to that commitment. Everyone is here to recognize the importance of your achievements, including all those here on the platform. Joining the celebration at the center of the stage with me today is our president, Dr. David Turpin, and the representative of our Board of Governors, Dr. Lynn Parody. I'm very pleased that deans and professors from our faculties of science, engineering, agricultural life and environmental sciences, rehabilitation medicine, and public health are here to congratulate each graduate as you cross the stage. I'd also like to recognize Elder Marilyn Buffalo, who is here today to extend a special note of congratulations to our Indigenous graduates as they receive their degrees. Our distinguished guests on the convocation stage also include a number of members of our academy and leaders from our community. We're all here to celebrate and to welcome you to our University of Alberta alumni family. I hope you enjoy the day. I'd like to start by inviting greetings from our representative from the University Board of Governors, Dr. Lynn Parody.
Eminent Chancellor, Mr. Douglas Stollery, President, Dr. David Turpin, distinguished guests, graduates, families, and friends. I am pleased to be here today to bring greetings on behalf of the Board of Governors. Convocation is a special time when the entire university community gathers to celebrate your tremendous achievements. Indeed, the university has much to celebrate, but today we especially gather to celebrate you, the graduating class of 2017. You have achieved a level of excellence which will be forever recognized in your university degree. A University of Alberta degree. Representing the Board of Governors, I and the full board are committed to excellence today and tomorrow, providing excellence in teaching and research that has supported you and will support those that follow in our ever-changing world. Alberta and Canada are a great place for all of us, and great because of this graduating class of 2017. Your degree is a sign of your achievement at the University of Alberta. It is also a signal to others that you are the kind of citizens that bring knowledge, understanding, and skills to the society that we live in. Competent, giving, ethical, and engaged in the challenges and opportunities today and tomorrow. Congratulations to you, your families, friends, and supporters. Continue to learn, continue to achieve. Enjoy today, and we wish you the very best for the future.
It's now my pleasure to invite Dr. David Turpin, the President of the University of Alberta, to address convocation.
Eminent Chancellor, distinguished guests, members of the Academy, staff, family, friends, and especially you, our graduates. Congratulations and well done. If we have done our job well, you are feeling a tremendous amount of accomplishment today because we've pushed you. We've asked you to work hard, to think in new ways, and to test your limits. I hope that you also feel prepared to pursue new challenges and ask even more of yourself in the days and years ahead. Because we need you. We need your new ideas, your skills, and your energy. We need your enormous potential to help us build a better, more just, and compassionate Canada. Your potential and capacity to help has particular meaning this year as we celebrate the 150th anniversary of Canada's Confederation. I was only 10 years old when Canada celebrated its centennial in 1967. My memories of that year are filled with the fun and the wonder of it. The Centennial Train was making its way across the country, the Centennial Fitness Challenge that tested every school child, and the space-age buildings of Montreal's Expo 67. It's hard to believe it now, but in 1967, Canada's flag was only a couple of years old. It was designed, by the way, by George Stanley, a U of A alum. O Canada was still not accepted by many Canadians as our national anthem. God Save the Queen rang out in direct competition to O Canada at many public events. We were still 15 years away from repatriating Canada's Constitution and bringing into reality the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Now, in 2017, I can see that the Canada being celebrated in 1967 was only just beginning to emerge. In 1967, residential schools were still in operation across Canada. Homosexuality was a criminal offense, as was the sale of oral contraceptives. The Royal Commission on the Status of Women had only just convened to begin evaluating gender inequalities across Canada. While I was focused on trains and push-ups and geodesic domes, in 1967, the Government of Canada was taking its first steps towards official bilingualism, multiculturalism, and more open immigration policies. The University of Alberta, too, was right in the thick of centennial celebrations. Our university was host to what was expected to be the largest gathering of Canadian undergraduate students in history. It was called Second Century Week, and the event was ranked as the third largest centennial event after Expo and the Pan Am Games. The goal? I quote, "To rally all sections of post-secondary students, for Canadian youth must view the centennial as a bridge to the future and squarely face the problems which have not yet been solved." At Canada's centennial, the University of Alberta students organizing this conference heard the call to action, and they responded. Even as a young 10-year-old, I remember being asked, in fact being challenged, to play a part in building a new Canada. Like the U of A students who led the Second Century Week in 1967, you, the graduates of 2017, have distinct advantages in this 150th year of our country's history. You have knowledge and skills that come with a university degree. You have a much greater understanding of the problems which need to be solved. You have access to the latest technology, tools, and ideas humanity has devised for approaching all kinds of challenges. My question for you as we celebrate our sesquicentennial is this: what will you do with these advantages to build a better Canada? In my view, a better Canada would be innovative and in the forefront of the global knowledge economy. A better Canada would engage peoples and countries around the world, not for self-interest, but for our common interest. A better Canada would strengthen its commitment to ensuring that all people feel welcome, safe, and accepted, and able to give back to their communities regardless of their background. In short, a better Canada would be one of the most socially, culturally, economically, and environmentally prosperous of nations. So how do you imagine a better Canada? Any country is to some extent the product of our collective imagination. It is a social contract that takes shape slowly through constant dialogue between people with vastly different points of view. We know that Canadians have made mistakes along the way, but fortunately, we are not finished. You and I are works in progress. So is the University of Alberta. So is Canada. We are not done yet. Change can take longer than we hope, but as the past 50 years have shown, with caring and commitment, we have learned to do better, to listen better, to live together better. 50 years from now, when you reflect on how Canada has changed since this sesquicentennial, I hope that you will be able to look back with the knowledge that you heard the call to action and did your best to respond. Take inspiration from the thousands of U of A alumni who together have played an instrumental role in the social, cultural, and economic prosperity of Alberta and Canada. They have left a tangible legacy in every sector of society, in the laws they have written, the movements they have led, the scientific discoveries that have changed our lives, the art they have created, the businesses they have built, and the students they have taught. Now it's your turn. It's your turn to step up. It's your turn to unleash your potential to help build a better, more just, and compassionate Canada. The next 50 years are yours, so take advantage of it. Congratulations to each and every one of you, and we look forward with great anticipation to all your future accomplishments. Thank you.
Knowledge shall not be the concern of scholars alone. The uplifting of the whole people shall be its final goal.
They inspire us all with their brilliance, creative force, and fervent desire to make the world a better place.
I accept in the name of our poor people.
Dream your dreams. It is possible to have a new kind of world.
Those who receive an honorary degree from the University of Alberta set the highest standards of dedication and excellence for students and for society at large.
It is a good day to be you.
Remember who you are. Remember where you come from.
And while their backgrounds and fields of endeavor vary widely, all are exceptional.
Maybe it's best if I just speak from the heart.
I will remember you. Will you remember me?
We face today a clash of ignorances.
You are who make the history. You are who create the future.
U of A honorary degree recipients embody the university's vision to inspire the human spirit through outstanding achievements in learning, discovery, and citizenship in a creative community.
Your generation will be called upon to balance what is now moving quickly to a tipping point.
I think we are now in the threshold of a new beginning.
It is a spirit that is building one of the world's great universities for the public good.
It is your attitude that will sustain you. It is not what happens to you, it is what you do with it.
Go out and not simply change the world, go out and save the world. That is what I would seek you to do.
Eminent Chancellor, on behalf of the Senate of the University of Alberta, it is my privilege to introduce Bob MacDonald for the honorary degree of Doctor of Science, our learning community's highest recognition. Have you ever wondered? Think about it. Have you ever wondered what time it is, the North Pole? What it is like to use power tools in zero gravity? Why woodpeckers don't get concussions? What would the view be like if you could travel at the speed of light? Or why people who snore don't wake themselves up with all the noise that they make? These are all reasonable questions to ask. As a journalist and author, Bob MacDonald's particular genius is to connect people with questions to scientists who are seeking the answers. Bob MacDonald once wrote, and I quote, "Science is an evolving subject, continuously probing the nature of the universe and our place in it." End quote. Listening to Bob on CBC's Quirks and Quarks, reading his books, or watching him on The National, or perhaps on Heads Up or Wonderstruck for those of you who are as young as I am, you realize that Bob MacDonald's enthusiasm for science is at the core of who he is. His curiosity draws audiences in, commands attention, and opens the door to understanding. I would venture to suggest that if universities offered master classes solely on the art of asking important questions and listening, really listening, to the answers, Bob MacDonald's interviews would be our textbooks. An officer of the Order of Canada, Bob MacDonald has been honored for outstanding work in science communication by the Natural Sciences and Engineering Research Council, the Royal Canadian Institute, and the Royal Society of Canada. And over its lifetime, on radio and online, including an entire generation, 25 years with Bob MacDonald at the helm, Quirks and Quarks has won more than 40 national and international awards for science journalism and inspired a generation of scientists and innovators and people who are just curious about the world. For over 100 years, our motto at the University of Alberta has been to seek whatsoever things are true. This afternoon, we honor a gifted interviewer, author, and journalist committed to that very same pursuit. Eminent Chancellor, with the deepest respect, I present to you Bob MacDonald.
Bob MacDonald, in recognition of outstanding contributions to education and the public understanding of science, I desire to confer upon you the honorary degree of Doctor of Science and to express the hope that we shall continue to be enriched by your wise counsel for many years to come. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
boy. Eminent Chancellor, Mr. President, Dean Schaefer, members of the Senate, faculty, honored guests, family, friends, and my fellow graduates. To say thank you is an understatement, and to accept it with humility is a tremendous effort on my part. And to see that I'm now part of a club of honorary doctorates of such distinguished members of Canadian society is overwhelming. But to you, my fellow graduates, I say this: you did it! You did it, you're here. Give yourselves a hand. Give yourselves a hand. Thank you for investing in your minds. Thank you for investing in a scientific mind, because we need scientific thinking as we face the challenges of a warming planet and an increasing population and all that stuff. We need scientific thinking to help us come up with good solutions on how we need to adapt our society. And it doesn't matter whether you become a scientist or a politician or a business person or a journalist. Whatever it is, we as a society need to make some hard decisions that all involve some kind of scientific understanding. And if we have that scientific understanding, we can make good decisions. So thank you for doing that. And of all the things that you learned here at the university, the one thing that today is teaching you is that you finished what you started. You finished it. That's why all these people on stage are making such a big deal out of it today. They know the importance, the value of finishing what you started. Sure, you came to the university hoping to get a degree, and you got scared. You faced your assignments wondering if you were going to do them and get them on time. You may have asked the professor for an extension because you're not going to make the deadline. You worked all night. It doesn't matter how you did it, you got here. You finished what you started. And that lesson is one that is so valuable as all of us move forward. And in fact, it's that lesson that got me standing here before you today. Because I didn't finish what I started in my early days. I never got to this. I did make it to university, but after second year, I was a terrible student. I failed. I dropped out. And I didn't know what I was going to do with myself, so I worked construction and swabbed toilet bowls and drove a truck, and I have tremendous respect for the construction industry, let me tell you. And the reason that I'm not still doing that is thanks to friends and family and coworkers and mentors who every once in a while open the door of opportunity and said, hey, why don't you try that? You'd be good at that. And every time that happened, my first reaction was, well, I'm not qualified to do that. I don't have an education. I'm not smart enough. I don't know. But they would say, no, go give it a try. And for some reason, I said yes. And I would try these things. And when I did, because it was something that I really wanted to do, I got right into it. My first opportunity came from my girlfriend when I was in my 20s. She said, the Ontario Science Centre in Toronto is looking for people to do their shows, to stand hair up with static electricity and all. You'd be really good at that. So I drove my truck to the Ontario Science Centre, and I talked my way into the job because I was so anxious to be there to do it. And the person hiring said, yeah, you're the type of person we'd like to have here, and I was hired. And my life changed. And out of that came opportunities to appear on television and radio. I'd never done it before, but every time I did, I said, sure. And they said, hey, you're good at that. Do you want to do more? Okay. I'll tell you the most extreme example of this. I was at home one day and the phone rings. And this fellow says, hi, I'm a television producer from New York City. I produce small little news items, and we have a satellite, and we feed them up to the satellite, and any television station in the United States can pick those stories up. I just saw you on the morning news program here in Canada, and you're really good. Do you produce your own television? I'm looking for short little science news items that are only 2 minutes long that will run on our satellite feed. twice a week. Do you produce that kind of stuff? Because if you do, I'll buy them. Now, at the time, I was appearing on television programs, but I didn't have a production company. I didn't know how to make television, how to shoot it, how to edit it, and all that. So I said, yes. He said, great, here's my number. Give me a call in New York. Got to go, bye. Click, that was the whole conversation. Now, I said yes because I thought, hey, that's the American market. Maybe I could blossom out there. Who knows what could happen? But then as soon as I hung up the phone, I thought, what have I done? I don't know how to do this. And I got scared. And this has happened again and again in my life. And I've learned something about fear, that you can beat it. It's natural to be afraid of the unknown. All animals are afraid of the unknown. It's natural to do that. But the way you beat your fear, you ask for help. You say, how do I do this? So the next thing I did, I picked the phone up again, and I called a friend of mine who was a cameraman that I'd worked with at Global Television. I told him what happened. He said, I can help you with that on my days off. We can shoot those. And I have a friend who's an editor, and he runs a little business out of his living room, and he can help us put them together. The three of us formed a company. We produced more than 80 of those little segments over the next year. All of a sudden, I own a production company. I'd never done that. But I found that by saying yes to opportunities, and this has happened to me again and again and again, that's the story of my life. I didn't go to school for anything that I do. I wasn't trained for it. But when people said, hey, they're looking for a host for a kids' television series. Quirks and Quarks is looking for a host. I go, yes, okay. And I'd go and try. And I found that when I got scared, I'd ask for help. And when you ask for help, it's amazing how quickly you learn when you're scared. It's a tremendous motivator when you're scared. I'm also into sailing. And there's a saying in sailing that the best tool to keep a boat afloat that's sinking is a scared man with a bucket. Highly motivated. But then I discovered the third step. The first one, say yes. 2, ask for help. 3, finish it. Finish what you start. Because so many people start out on great things. I'm going to write the great Canadian novel. But then as soon as it gets hard, they stop. Well, if you stop, you may not don't even start. What's the point? Just finish it. Get it done. And there's a big difference between the talkers and the doers. Because when you're there on deadline day, you've got a product. It may not be the best, it probably isn't, but you'll get better. There's always someone better than you, there's always someone not as good as you. So just finish what you start. And you know what happens? You end up in a place where you're getting paid to have fun. That's the secret to life. I love what I do. I love my job. It's great. Not like the old days where I dreaded going to work, waiting for the clock to turn to 5 o'clock so I could get out of there. No, I love what I do. So if you take opportunities, and I'm no one special. I'm no one special. We all have friends and family and people that say, hey, you should try that. So here's the secret. Figure out what it is you want to do, and not what your parents think you should do, not what your professor thinks you should do, not what your friends think you should do, what you really, really, really like and really want to do, and look for opportunities that point you in that direction. And get there. Get paid for having fun. You will be amazed where you end up. Holy smokes. So that's my message to you. Just say yes to opportunity, and you can go anywhere you want. And just one final thing. I found out just before coming here, just this morning, that friend of mine, the cameraman, who helped me with that opportunity, he just died. So I'm dedicating this degree to Jim Barecki, a friend and a colleague who helped me through a door of opportunity and helped to change my life. I hope that you find people like that and that you will step through your opportunities and say thank you to the people who did that. So it is with tremendous, tremendous humility and gratitude that I thank the University of Alberta for this wonderful wonderful honor. I wish you well, and congratulations once again. Thank you.
What a truly inspiring life story. Knowledge is fundamental, but it's communication that brings knowledge to life. And Dr. MacDonald, you are the master of communication. Thank you for saying yes to us today. And to commemorate this honorary degree, we would ask you to come forward to sign our university honor roll.
Left-handed, sorry. Just let me calm down for a minute here.
We have a right-handed podium, I'm afraid.
Yeah. It's not even my signature. Okay. Thank you.
And that makes it official. You are now a member of our University of Alberta class of 2017. Welcome to the family. And now, graduates, it is your turn. As the name of each graduate is called to cross the stage, I will formally admit you to your degrees, and we will have an opportunity to congratulate you. On your journey across the stage, you will also walk past the University of Alberta ceremonial mace. Centuries ago, the mace was a symbol of authority over life and death. Today, this mace represents the life-changing power of knowledge and the importance of our university and our graduates in the community. I look forward to meeting you here on stage.
The candidates for degrees will please rise and follow on page 5 of the Convocation program. Please rise. You have a spoken response, so please follow along. Eminent Chancellor and President, on behalf of the faculties, I present to you these scholars and ask that they be pledged and admitted to the degrees to which they are entitled.
Do you promise to faithfully to observe and loyally to maintain the statutes, customs, privileges, and liberties of this your university? Do you solemnly promise to conduct yourself in all things loyally and faithfully to the honor of your university, the encouragement of learning, and the good of your country?
By virtue of the authority vested in me by the legislature of this province and with the consent of this university, I admit you to the degrees to which you are entitled and invest you with all the powers, rights, and privileges pertaining to such degrees. I charge you to use them for the uplifting of the whole people, to inspire the human spirit, to serve your community for the public good, and to pursue more steadfastly whatsoever things are true.
Please be seated.
Eminent Chancellor, on behalf of Professor Heather Zwicker and Professor Jonathan Schaefer, I present the following graduates for degrees in the Faculty of Graduate Studies and Research and the Faculty of Science. For the degree of Doctor of Philosophy, Lawrence Asamoah Adutwam. Iman Ismail Ahmad Adabas. Ubshet Mekonnen Alame. Mekha Sunil Bajaj. Tushar Suvra Biswas. Daniel Martin Brown. Sean Gordon Campbell. Jia Wen Chen. Mohammed Tarek Kamel El Morsi. Fatima Fani Sani. Yong Feng Gao. Melis Gedik. Poliana Gonçalves Barbosa. Victor Manuel Guana Garces. Jeffrey John Havixbeck. Rui Tong Hong. Morteza Javadi Charani. Chong Jin. Fatima Kamal. Nasser Kazemi Nojada. Jude Zavella Kong. Zhenhua Li. Rongrong Mandy Lin. Charlie Jacob Lowen. Ashik Mahmood. Mohammad Reza Malamir. Michelle Campbell Kamarski. Colin Edward Moore. Colleen Adele Mortimer. Eric William Nielsen. Amy Kathleen Norquay. Van Alex Ortega. Camilo Alfonso Perez Quintero. Kendall Marie Prill. Eva Maria Rodriguez Lopez. Kyle Jonathan Schlitt. Thomas Wayne Scully. Liang Zishi. William Torres Delgado. Caitlin Marie Toll. Marie Betsy Verugis. Lei Wang. Yining Wang. Dang Dang Yu. Ning Zhang. Yufeng Zhao. Eminent Chancellor for the degree of Master of Science, Sasiri Bandara. Nathan Thomas Bartlett. Rafael Archimedes Becerra del Moro. Auxe Brazunete. Kate Broadley. Sukpichaya Chaurunchon. Jordan Cole Christie. Yu Ying Deng. Robert John Dawkin. Mohammed Eldib. Giselle Felicity Fonseca. Amy Elizabeth Jakalik. Shami Ghosh. Chantel Elizabeth Hanratty. Dinesh Kandel. Scott Graham Karbashewski. Ryan Alexander Lacombe. Sean Larade. Wei Duo Li. Hang Lu. Courtney Ivy McInnes. Jasmine Leanne Ma. Michelle. Brittany Laurie Miller. Prabjot Singh. Dorothea Yan Zi Meng. Susanna Musa Naim. Fiona Marilyn Nkala. Fred Nodden. Nicole Carol Lavinia Noel. Benjamin Rurik Saikia Ocampo. Oluwata Biloba David Oyewumi. Laura Elizabeth Redmond. Sahid Sani. Abinit Kumar Singh. Daniel James Scareko. Adam Joseph John St. Arnaud. Amanda Jean St. Ong. Chung Su. Albert Tung. Kenny Van. Norma Itzel Vasquez. Ainsley Patricia Walsh. Michael Everett Wong. Wan Tong Yin. Yusuf Yasser Zaran. Eminent Chancellor, on behalf of Professor Jonathan Schaefer, I present the following graduates for degrees in the Faculty of Science. For the degree of Bachelor of Science with Honors, Linnea Marie Barasoff with First Class Honors. Also receiving her Research Certificate in Science, Taryn Marie Boy with First Class Honors. Calvin Eng. Also receiving a Research Certificate in Science, Kirsten Faye Kelly. Jing Jiao Ni with First Class Honors. Catherine Nicole Sneyer. Eminent Chancellor, for the degree of Bachelor of Science with Specialization, also receiving her Research Certificate in Science, Samantha Xinyi Fu. Also receiving a Certificate in Biomedical Research, Lauren Claire Milner Graham. Martin Gary Humphreys. Aaron Michael Kumpf. Sung Hyun Lee. Zhao Lian. Xingwu Liu. Daniel Rubenstein with distinction. Paige Mackenzie Hunter Sellers. Thomas Atif Shaker with distinction. Noah John Shillington. Xingruo Shi. Jiahui Xie. Shanshu Zhou. Eminent Chancellor, for the degree of Bachelor of Science, Mohammad Hussein Al-Jabiri. Danielle Erin Berry with distinction. Also receiving her Certificate in Interdisciplinary Leadership Studies, Courtney Leah Boucher. Also receiving a Certificate in Sustainability and a Certificate in Community Engagement and Service Learning, Ludwig Paul Bote-Kabling. Ryan Chow. Hung Jie Chung. Una Conradi. Kimberly Drazga. Marcia Gladys Duvenage. Kristen Marissa Eschishin with distinction. Also receiving a Certificate in Sustainability, Megan Adele Funky with distinction. Also receiving a Research Certificate in Science, Rafael Quijano Gastroc with distinction. Jessica Lorena Gonzalez. Nicole Dawn Grocock. Jenny Ham with distinction. Deala Handus. Osman Hojanapesov. Jaden Joseph Holland. Also receiving a Research Certificate in Science, Kathleen Mary Holmstrom. Alexa Heather Hirsoon with distinction. Zamzam Abdulali Hussein, with distinction. Sarah Jadat, with distinction. Shankar Jha, with distinction. Duncan Leslie Johnson. Sandus Khan. Arij Ijaz Kisana. Karamveer Singh Lal, with distinction. Selina Liu. Devin James Lynn. Shanika Marawira. Rebecca Shea Mitchell. Julie Nguyen. Dinal Vikram Patel. Amalia Ramadani Putri. Yue Chiu. Aditya Ravishankara. Farheen Diba Salim. Jalan Amanda Helene Scott. Sarah Suzuk. Shui Ying Yang. Chak Sin Michael Wong. Thomas Dirk Wunsch. Shu Yan Xiong. Anna Maria Janishchuk, with distinction. Wei Yu Yang. Yi Zhi Zhang. Eminent Chancellor, on behalf of Professor Heather Zwicker and Professor Fraser Forbes, I present the following graduates for degrees in the Faculty of Graduate Studies and Research and the Faculty of Engineering. For the degree of Doctor of Philosophy, Mostafa Abdelbasit Abdelalim Ali. Markian Stephen Baniak. Chiang Chen. Yi Cui. Obina Daniel Azulike. Abede Golidaust Saridashti. Shi Chi Lai. Yuan Li. Su Liu. Lei Lu. Scott Andrew McKay. Sayed Milad Mapekar. Ali Mansouri. Denise Menegshedag Erol. Mohammed Nu Ahmed Meshref. Farzam Nejabatka. John Robert Nickel. Mehdi Nosrati. Estacio Pereira. Arindam Fani. Kushal Popley. Nicole Lee Robertson. Tanzia Sharman. Mei Shen. Yao Tang. Kristen Michelle Tappenden. Chen Wang. Gentry David Wood. Yuan Yuan. Xiaodong Shu. Zhen Shu. Feng Wu. Wen Fei Zhang. Xu Rui Zhang. Shu Zhu. Eminent Chancellor for the degree of Master of Science, Mohammad Abdolrazagi. Tyler Acorn. Emmanuel Alawale Agbula. Mohammad Agabarati. Usama Akram. Hashem Ali Gardashi. Sumanth Kumar Arnipali. Elisa Aznarte Garcia. Sania Tasneem Basher. Curtis Paul Bell. Curtis Norbert Broda. Joshua Michael Cunningham. Matthew Brian Davis. Michael Douglas DeCoste. Christopher Thomas DiGiovanni. Sina Ghazizadeh. Benjamin Arthur Greenlay. Sayed Mojaba Hashemi. Ziyue He. Dai Mang Jia. Jad Giradini. Hayden Edward Kalk. Jia Hao Ko. Stephen Alexi Lanyi. Imranul Islam Lasker. Xiangyu Li. Ching Chan Liu. Adriana Elisa Luis Gonçalves. Olexi Martins. Juan Jose Martinez Gamboa. Pablo Martinez. Luisa Fernanda Montes Higuita. Cesar Augusto Montilla Perez. Jason Matthew Morosky. Adeoye Moronkeji. Atreya Krishna Nitala. Janine Rocio Ogloza. Oleg Olenikov. David Omane. Sausen Uhiba. Kasturi Nagesh Pai. Yuan Zhou Chu. Derek Andrew Russell. Krishna Sapkota. Colin Miles Saraka. Mohammed Zaki Sheikh. Hong Bo Shi. Yu Ji So. Mohammed Ikhter Hossein Soiket. Sai Gokul Subravetti. Chung Mang Sun. Yao Tang. Ai Tang. Annapurna Sri Somaya Taruga. Jorge Fernando Villacres. Yushi Wang. Yo Wei. Nicholas Stiles Wilkins. Andrew Donald Williams. Benjamin Daniel Wiltshire. Hao Shu. Howard Yu. Henry Yao Hung Yu. Mercedes Zan Vakili. Yun Zhang. Eminent Chancellor for the degree of Master of Engineering, Laura Adrena Atencio Pernia. Menuka Sapumal Bandara Dasanayake. Muse Ubishet Dese. Michael Eduarte Rassi. Susan Romero. Regan Jamie Schaefer-Frentz. Varun Sharma. Carla del Pilar Villegas. Nicole Patricia Wilder. Eminent Chancellor, on behalf of Professor Fraser Forbes, I present the following graduates for degrees in the Faculty of Engineering. For the degree of Bachelor of Science in Chemical Engineering, Asma Haider Hel Hashim El Haj. Sebastian Roman Austin Jench. Foyez Udin, with distinction. Eminent Chancellor, for the degree of Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering, Matthew Cheong. Eminent Chancellor, for the degree of Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering, also receiving his certificate in International Learning, Andrew Justin Olsvik, with distinction. Eminent Chancellor, for the degree of Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering, Yi Bo Chen. Joshua David Fisher. Jesse Yishai Froelich. Radislav Piwak. Saralyn Nadine Riddle. Brandon Truong. Farouk Zavar. Yihan Zhang. Eminent Chancellor, for the degree of Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering, Scott Nicholas Dabbs, with distinction. Justin Wieben Hansen. Stephen Douglas Wagstaff. Michael Thomas James Mackenzie Weber. Nicholas Del Yi. Ming Di Yu. Eminent Chancellor, on behalf of Professor Heather Zwicker and Professor Stanford Blade, I present the following graduates for degrees in the Faculty of Agricultural, Life, and Environmental Sciences and the Faculty of Graduate Studies and Research. For the degree of Doctor of Philosophy, Abir Salman Al-Zaban. Albert Boeti. Yo-Hua Chen. Rebecca Muriel Dwar. Emily Faith Eckel. Youssef Umar Esparza. Sharavari Kulkarni. Hui Li. Shahid Mahmood. Laurel Christine Sakalak. Eminent Chancellor, for the degree of Master of Arts, Yara Saig. Eminent Chancellor, for the degree of Master of Science, Joseph Papa Aidu. Emily Michelle Bassi. Stephen Nkansa Bruce. Catherine Bird. Tony Carrera Brunje. Xiao Ju Tuan. Amelia Francis Corrigan. Mariah Desargent Morissette. Claire Alexis Dahl. Amanda Judy Fisher. Todd Lauren Godfrey. Chris Gerald Gwinnett. Sanat Sandeep Kanikar. Manpreet Kaur. Carolyn Margaret King. Anita Ahine Laria. Sarah Dawn Lee. Siu Meng Liu. Olga Georgievna Mameva. Ropafadzo Emelda Mamutse. Brittany Nicole McAdams. Cassandra Erna McKenzie. Catherine Olegovna Melnick. Lucas Lovro Novak. Eduardo Noe Rodriguez Martinez. Felipe Armando Silva. Maria Paula Soles Ares. Mariam Sadat Veziriegana. Chi Huang. Lin Xia. Yuan Zhang. Yumna Zia. Eminent Chancellor for the degree of Master of Engineering, Ramanjit Kaur. Eminent Chancellor, on behalf of Professor Stanford Blade, I present the following graduates for degrees in the Faculty of Agricultural, Life, and Environmental Sciences. Eminent Chancellor for the degree of Bachelor of Science with Honors, Bei-Yi Shen. Eminent Chancellor for the degree of Bachelor of Science in Nutrition and Food Science, Melissa Ann Bontorin, with distinction. Claire Charbonneau, with distinction. Sarah Jean Knoll. Cabell Donald Johnson. Danielle Liu. Kira McFarlane, with distinction. Alyssa Lynn Provencher, with distinction. Yasmin Shoblack. Stephanie Ann Thornton, with distinction. Sarah Lynn Windler. Deanna Elaine Zavaruka, with distinction. Eminent Chancellor for the degree of Bachelor of Science in Agricultural and Food Business Management, Siebe Jarrett Brewer. Abby Ray Halwa. Carmel Julie Toma. Eminent Chancellor for the degree of Bachelor of Science in Environmental and Conservation Sciences, also receiving a certificate in sustainability, Monica Shandal, with distinction. Eminent Chancellor for the degree of Bachelor of Science in Human Ecology, also receiving a certificate in interdisciplinary leadership studies, May Lam. Also receiving a certificate in sustainability and a certificate in community engagement and service learning, Lauren Mary Ong, with distinction. Tristan Hannah Lee Runzer. Michaela Ann Smetaniak. Eminent Chancellor for the degree of Bachelor of Science in Animal Health, Cecily Ann Ray Perry. Jillian Elizabeth Marie Simpson. Eminent Chancellor for the degree of Bachelor of Arts in Environmental Studies, Michaela Phelan Quinn. Eminent Chancellor, on behalf of Professor Heather Zwicker and Professor Lou Ann McFarlane, I present the following graduates for degrees in the Faculty of Graduate Studies and Research and the Faculty of Rehabilitation Medicine. Eminent Chancellor, for the degree of Master of Science, Allison Ann Ames. Lina Maria Becerra Puyo. Sarah Ann Blackmore. Janelle Yvonne Collett. Jeremy Michael Davey. Carissa Ardeen Eichelt. Jill Ann Frith. John Renzo Villar Garcia. Sarah Lorraine Geisheimer. Kelsey Marilyn Grant. Bethany Jane Hartman. Carla Laura Ianucci. Michelle Lee Inkster. Kelly Nicole Jackson. Am Kaur Jaswal. Mikhail Joan Jenkinson. Calvin Paul Kruger. Melanie Rose Liast. Luann Liu. Larissa Mary Main. Haney Min. Brady Joan Molzan. Ashley Ann Marie Pruce. Anita Francis Ripmeester. Tanya Shiva. Brittany Marie Smith. Charlotte Elizabeth Smith. Andrea Joy Tam, sorry, Andrea. Jill Lauren Lee Yankee. Eminent Chancellor, on behalf of Professor Heather Zwicker and Professor Kim Rain, I present the following graduates for degrees in the Faculty of Graduate Studies and Research and the School of Public Health. For the degree of Doctor of Philosophy, Erin Leanne Fott. Janice Dawn Geary. Kai On Wong. Eminent Chancellor, for the degree of Master of Science, Catherine Emily Charlotte Burton. Gilgamesh James Emer. Barbara Eileen Hughes. Denise Teresa Lambert. Roland Kevin Meyer. Fawaz Mohammed Maki. Eminent Chancellor, for the degree of Master of Public Health, Amanagawan Abraham. Bushra Farhana Alam. Suraj Mansukh Chavda. Job Carmel Delos Santos. Alexandra Ann Dixon. Devon Elizabeth Guy. Sandra Rosemarie McDonald. Megan Elizabeth McCormick. Daniel William McKennett. Khadija Nasser. And last but certainly not least, Nadine Nicole Taylor.
Eminent Chancellor, on behalf of the faculties, I present to you the remaining scholars whose names appear in the convocation program, but who are not in attendance.
Well, graduates, you've made it. You're now officially on the other side. Ladies and gentlemen, the class of 2017, let's hear it for them. Well, graduates, now it's your turn. I'd like you to stand up, turn around, get everyone's attention. Let's give the people who have supported you through all of it, your parents and siblings, grandparents, your spouses and children, turn around, give them a huge round of applause. Okay, now that I've got everyone back with us, it's time to turn our attention to the final part of today's ceremony. Before you are formally welcomed into the University of Alberta Alumni Association, I invite you to watch the screens for the presentation of a special video montage. The song that accompanies the video, Je te retrouve, or I Remember You, was commissioned by Campus Saint-Jean in 2008 to honor the University of Alberta's centenary. It captures the hopefulness and potential of days spent at the university, and hopefully sparks your own memories of your years here. The song is also a display of many U of A talents. It was composed by Professor Emeritus Franz Lavoisier-Ouimet and arranged by U of A alumnus Dr. Alan Bevan. The recording is performed by Chorale Saint-Jean under the direction of Laurier Fagnan. Enjoy.
Thank you.
Eminent Chancellor, thank you. To the 2017 graduating class, congratulations and welcome. My name is Tyler Hansen. I graduated from the University of Alberta in 2000. It is my honor to congratulate you on becoming a University of Alberta alumnus and to officially welcome you into our alumni family. You are joining a proud and inspired group of graduates committed to each other's success and committed to building the University of Alberta into one of the world's great universities for the public good. I call upon you to stay connected with each other, with other alumni, and with your university throughout your lifetime. We will be there for you, for each other, and for our university. I also call upon you to go out from this place and be inspired by the promise and challenge of our alumni to do great things. Our alumni have done many great things in the past. Now it is your turn. Great things are actions, big and small. They can take place anywhere, anytime. They support other alumni, the university, and our society, and they come from using the knowledge and talents that you have gained here for the betterment of yourselves and others. Congratulations and best wishes in all your future endeavors. And now please turn your attention to the screen.
No matter what your story, where you came from, what it took to get here, at this place, you were welcomed. You became part of our family. At this place, you inherited a spirit of innovation, of action, of coming together to uplift the whole people. Our school and our spirit have grown, but we still learn, innovate, lead, solve problems, take action. We raise up our communities, and we help others succeed. We are University of Alberta alumni, and for more than a century, we have come together and carved a new trail for those who follow. Together, we are stronger. Together, we shine brighter. Together, from this place into the world. Together, we have and we will do great things.
In closing, I would like to offer a few words of thanks. Dr. Bob McDonald. Thank you once again for sharing your story and your wisdom with our university family. You are an inspiring example of leadership, service, and accomplishment. In accepting this honorary degree, you bring great honor to the University of Alberta. I also wish to thank our talented vocalist, Oliver Munar, and our outstanding convocation band under the direction of Dr. Thomas Dust. And I wish to acknowledge the hard work of the staff of the Office of the Registrar for their organization of today's convocation. I'm pleased to invite everyone to join us on the main floor and first balcony lobbies for refreshment and fellowship. And finally, to our graduates. Today is an important milestone in a journey of lifelong learning. Your degree will open new horizons for you and for our entire community. As you contemplate your future, I encourage you to remember that of all the things you may do, of all the successes you may achieve, nothing is more important than the kindness you show to others. Congratulations for all that you have accomplished leading up to the conferral of your degree today. Wherever your dreams may take you, I invite you to remain close to your alma mater, the University of Alberta. Enjoy the celebration.